The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. It's about 9 o'clock. I'll get started in just a minute. Please hang tight. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is Matt Mangriotis, Director of Product Management, and I'm going to talk to you today about new things in the PMP portfolio, specifically on the 450 platform. Thank you for joining. Looks like we got a fair number of people on, so I'll get started so as to not waste your time. As you know, we have a world-class portfolio of products to support any wireless need. Going from the left to the right on this chart, we start out with the indoor devices from very close range, CN Pilot Series devices that can do residential routing with the R series, as well as enterprise. E600 just came out. It's a very powerful enterprise class Wi-Fi device for the indoors. And then we have the outdoor devices, the E500 series. We have the 500, 501, 502, various sectorized versions of that to provide outdoor Wi-Fi coverage. Moving past the middle there, we have the ePMP products that are a great, affordable, last mile type of solution for access. ePMP 2000 incorporates beamforming and some of the advanced ePMP Wi-Fi products that are great for any type of last mile connection. And then you move to the 450M. We'll spend some time talking about the Medusa technology and how that provides a great level of support for all of your wireless needs. And then we have a world-class series of PTP products as well, unlicensed and licensed microwave products that'll really get the high capacity to long ranges. Another view of the portfolio kind of goes from long range to short range, if you will, from left to right. As I mentioned, the point-to-point backhaul products. We now have the 820 series in microwave, 670 in unlicensed. We have PTP 450 as well as 900 megahertz. We cover all the unlicensed bands around the world. As you may have heard, we're launching the PTP 550, which is a much looked for product that's going to do high capacity in a very affordable package. So that's being launched as we speak. I'm sure there's other webinars that I'll talk in more detail about that product. I'm here to talk about this next box, the access layer, the point to multipoint products, and what's new on the 450 platform. So we'll spend the majority of the time talking about that. Residential Wi-Fi, they're always coming out with new things. The latest and greatest is the wall plate, the E430W, which is a great product for a hospitality market. So there's lots of opportunity in the Wi-Fi space as well. And then we have the IIoT solution in cnReach. All of this is managed by this cnMaestro management software. Great view of the overall network. You can view all the clients that are connected. You can troubleshoot end-to-end. Maestro becomes better every day. We have a cloud instantiation that's always up to date, or you can do it on-premise if you're concerned about security. So there's a lot of options there. But I encourage you, if you're trying out Cambium Networks products, make sure you get on board with Maestro because it's a really powerful tool to manage your network. So the 450 started out as an access point that was connected to an antenna, sector antenna. And then we've developed our own antenna systems, which is kind of in the middle there, the 450i access points that have an integrated sector antenna developed by Cambium Networks, much more optimized for the network, eliminates those jumper cables, and creates a nice package for you to deploy easily. And then we have the 450M, which is the cnMedusa technology, which allows for multi-user MIMO capabilities that'll increase the capacity of the overall sector, increase spectral efficiency, and all the while reusing or maintaining the use of the 450 subscriber modules that you have in place today. So let's spend a couple minutes on Medusa, because that's the flagship technology in this space. It really allows you to triple or better the capacity versus the existing 450 or 450i sectors. It allows you to connect to up to 7 subscribers at once. It's a 14 by 14 array, a transceiver array. It's got 56 patch antennas inside that are all energized at the right times to be able to make these narrow subbeams or beamforming capability that not only eliminates or reduces noise to those subscribers, but can talk to more than one at once, up to 7 of them. This allows you to achieve supreme spectral efficiency. We can demonstrate easily over 400. We can show you 550 megs in a 20 meg channel in a parking lot. There's forum posts in our community forums that show you how to set this up to be able to achieve and demonstrate over 550 megs actually of throughput in a 20 meg channel. You can continue to use existing 450 SMs with this product. So all you're changing out is the access point. Keep using the SMs that are out there, the subscriber modules that are out there, and realize this capacity increase. Another great benefit of this product versus our past products is that this uplink sensitivity increased quite a bit with the technology that's in here. You're doing beamforming in the uplink as well as the downlink, which means you gain that benefit of narrowing the beam and only listening to the subscriber of interest. So you're eliminating noise from elsewhere. This results in actually combining the interference mitigation and the sensitivity improvements. It's about 10 to 12 dB better than the 450 or 450i access points. And of course, all of this takes a lot of beefy processing to handle. And so there are PPS levels on this that are actually, we can demonstrate more than 200K PPS. So things are getting better all the time. The Medusa product is advancing, and it is one simple device. There are no RF cables to connect or weatherproof. Imagine if you had to connect and weatherproof 14 RF cables. That's quite a bit of points of failure. All of that is contained within the same unit. It's an integrated 90-degree sector and a single Ethernet cable to connect. We do have the SFP port for connectivity of fiber if that's necessary as well. It is a bigger device, but it is a nice compact package for the capabilities that it provides. It's really a massive multi-user MIMO. It's an innovative product. It goes beyond the standards of anything that's out there, including LTE. It's 14 by 14 as mentioned, 14 by 14 dual pole transceivers. So it's a multi-user MIMO system. We can talk to, again, up to 7 subscribers at the same point in time. It's a beamforming system. It forms narrow beams towards the subscribers of interest, which will eliminate or reduce interference significantly. And having it contained all in one unit really reduces the cost to deploy, the cost to maintain, and really raises the reliability. It's really suited for high noise environments and can take advantage of narrower channels. So there's a lot of competition out there that say, hey, we can do a gig, we can do 750 megabits in a sector, but to do that, it requires 40 or 80 or 160 megahertz of clean spectrum. In unlicensed bands, it's very difficult to find wide swaths of clean spectrum. So what Medusa is really doing is taking advantage of the spectrum you have available and doing it in a narrower channel. 15.1.3 came out recently, a couple weeks ago, as a matter of fact, and it has some great new features, including 30 and 40 megahertz channel support for Medusa. This allows for even higher capacities. And while I said that it's tough to find some of these wide swaths of open spectrum, 40 megahertz is not unheard of in an unlicensed spectrum. We do support the entire 5 gigahertz band, meaning from 5150 all the way to 5925. So within those several hundred megahertz of spectrum, it is not unheard of to find a 40 megahertz channel that you can use. And with that same layout or lab testing or parking lot testing, we can demonstrate more than a gigabit per second, 1.2 gigabits per second, using that single 40 megahertz channel. It's a pretty incredible amount of capacity that we can show. In the real world, we're talking still about 3 to 4 times the amount of capacity that you'd get with a 40 meg channel using 450i. So very significant amount of throughput from a single subscriber. Single sector, rather. We added support for 430s in this latest software, meaning you can connect an old 430, a prior generation subscriber module, to your 450 Medusa product. We added support for 5 millisecond frames, up to 20 megahertz channels on the Medusa product. This allows for a little bit higher capacity, allows you to take better advantage of the narrow channels if that's the kind of deployment that you're needing to use. So in a 5 megahertz channel, using 5 millisecond frames actually improves the overall throughput and capacity by a significant amount, about 30 to 40%. In a 20 megahertz channel, it's a little bit less in terms of percentage, but you still get a little bit of bump when you go to the longer frames. It's a little more optimized to pack data into those frames. And if that's what you're doing in the rest of your network, now your 450M or your Medusa can handle that. We also made a provision to allow legacy software to connect to the 450 Medusa to allow you to upgrade without having to change that. I should have mentioned that if you have questions, feel free to type them in the question box. I know many of you, I've noticed, have been on these before and are already familiar with the method. But if you have a question, feel free to type them in the question box, and I'll try to answer them as we go. It's a little easier to do that sometimes than to wait till the end. So I see a question came in already. And the question is, can a 430 SM connect to a 450 using a 40 megahertz channel? The answer is no. The 430 has never supported a 40 megahertz channel and never will. So that's not possible. But if you're in a channel size that the 430 supports, which is up to 20 megahertz channels, then you can connect the 430 SM. Good question. And then, of course, as usual, with every release, we try to include stability and bug fixes to make sure that it's a very stable release. And this one we've found so far has been pretty darn stable. And just a couple of graphics or screenshots of showing that kind of throughput that we talked about. You may notice up at the top of the link test page on the right, it says total VCs. We have about 21 subscribers here that are connected, and we're showing 1.2 gigabits of download. And this is a lab setting, of course, so it's a very clean test. And we're showing the slot grouping on the bottom of 100% of the time it's in the groups of 7 rather. So that means this is an ideal scenario, and this is about the maximum capacity of the radio, but this is what you get. In 15.3, we're going to add uplink MU-MIMO, which will increase further the ability to support higher uplink bandwidths. And what we're showing here in the blue charts on the bottom is you're going from a 20 meg uplink to about 85 meg uplink with the same kind of frame structure. And that's just simply a factor of the uplink MU-MIMO. So we've got that working in the lab already. We're working on getting that out in an upcoming software release. So a lot of people say, well, this requires high density, or we need to have lots and lots of subscribers to make this advantageous for us. Well, really you don't. You only need a couple of subscribers, and the more you have, the better, of course, which is a little bit counterintuitive with what you're used to with wireless equipment. However, even 2 subscribers can show you a big benefit in terms of you can talk to both of them at once if they're spread out a little bit. Statistically, of course, it's better, but even with 2, you can show kind of an improvement, a significant improvement in the overall throughput of a sector because you're able to group those 2 and talk to both of them at the same time. So I just wanted to point that out, make sure we're not thinking that it's only in high density sectors that this is or that this will show a benefit, that the Medusa technology will show a benefit. It's really wherever it can make groups, it can actually improve significantly the amount of overall throughput. I showed this slide before in webinars, but I think it's worth showing again. This is an example from a real world customer. They have actually now more than, I would say, 700 or so sectors in the network. The slide needs a little bit of updating. But in a low loading scenario, meaning they're not super dense areas, we're showing significant improvements, meaning 4 times or so on average, the amount of throughput that they were getting with the 450, even in low loading areas. In the high loading areas, we're showing about an average of a 4.6. We got a couple sectors that are over 5 times the amount of throughput improvement, and a couple that are in the 4 range. So we're, as you can see, as you load up these sectors, things get even better. And this is real world data. This is not contrived or lab data. This is real world stuff. So we're showing, if you look at the just the average per sector megabits throughput, you can see in the low loading section, it's in the 50s for some of them. Some of them were in the 30s, 35. Now we're getting 225, 200. Same with the high density sectors. They were getting in the 40s with the sector level. Now we're in the 225, 200 level. So you can see real world throughput of 5 times the amount of data. It's really pretty incredible. And we think there's more room to grow in these things. So what's coming? Let me go through the roadmap. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to point out that 15.1.3 is out. We released cnArcher. I'm going to talk a little bit about Archer, what it is and what it does. I went through some of the feature sets that were included for the Medusa product in that release. The next major release will be 15.2. There will be a beta of that available very shortly in the next couple of weeks, which will include a lot of optional changes to the scheduler, some improvements in how we handle things. We're going to add encryption method of 256-bit AES. We're going to add a couple more levels of QoS if you want to be a little more granular with how you're prioritizing data. And as I mentioned, the scheduler changes. We can now do weighted fair queuing instead of strict priority queuing among those QoS levels. And then the biggest thing that comes in the March timeframe is the high gain 5 gigahertz 450B. We're pretty excited to get that out. I'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide. In June, 15.3 comes out, adding a few additional features that are long sought after. Auto contention slots. A lot of times customers have questions about how do I set the proper amount of, or the optimal amount of contention slots to make this sector work. The radio is going to be able to do that itself. Pretty neat stuff. We'll also add adaptive CIR to prevent oversubscription of CIR in a given sector. We'll add downlink flood test for all the radios in the 450 platform, which will allow non-service interrupting link test, basically. And then IPv6, we're looking at getting dual stack management system into the radio sooner than later. And then uplink MIMO and the aux port functionality on the Medusa is coming as well in June. And then in September, we got the 3 gigahertz version of Medusa. I'll spend some time on that as well. So let's go back to the 450B. This is out and available in the mid-gain version, which is the picture on the top. It's pretty impressive in the small form factor of what it can do. It's a 17 dBi gain integrated. It is only $299 list price. And if you're on a volume spend agreement, you can get them relatively inexpensively. We are excited that that's shipping, and we've nearly caught up to the initial demand ramp, which we had a little bit of an issue doing last year, but now we're nearly caught up. So everyone who's placed orders should be getting them very soon if they haven't got them already. We're also excited to get the dish version of this out, which is 24 dBi. As you see on the bottom, it's integrated. It comes in a 4-pack, very similar to the 450D product. You may have seen, or you may have not, but let me reinforce that we are end-of-lifing the 450D product This product is better in every way and less expensive. So we will be end-of-lifing the 450D. The last orders will be accepted in June, and we're going to launch this guy in March. So there's a little bit of overlap if you want to make that transition, but keep in mind this thing is in almost every way a better device than the 450D. It supports the wide band. It has enhanced packet processing, so you're not going to be limited by the processing power of the radio. It's got a gigabit Ethernet port. It's capable of over 300 megs of throughput, and it reuses the same power supply, so there's no changes in that regard. Great product. We're really looking forward to getting that out. So let's spend a few minutes on Archer. I'm hoping folks have used it or at least trialed it out. We released it in December. It is basically a mobile device application and really targeted for installation of SMs. And what it does is it's on the Android phone at first. We will be releasing it for iOS in the next major release, Q2. We support 450 with Archer today, but we will also support ePMP and other products. So we're planning to support ePMP, PTP, cnReach. All these products will be supported before too long. And I encourage you to go ahead and download and install it from the Google Play Store. It's free, and it has a demo mode. You don't even need an SM to kind of walk through the steps. So you can do a demo mode and walk through all the steps and see how easy it is to perform this installation. It communicates with cnMaestro, and we're adding features just like with Maestro. We're able to add features to this as we move forward. So it's pretty neat. We're going to add work orders in there and with a QR code that can be scanned. So it's a pretty neat device that'll just continue to get better. So why would you want to use cnArcher? Really, it's about eliminating errors. You don't need to pre-configure the SMs. You can take the SM out to the field and use Archer, and it'll put in the configuration. You can eliminate the need to balance a laptop on the roof of the home when you're installing. You don't need a power supply when you use the battery dongle that we recommend, or if you have your own batteries that can power the radio. You can kind of standardize on what you need the installers to know in order to install the radios, because the NOC can kind of control the configurations and all the provisioning and all that by using Archer. So what does it do? It can upgrade software directly from the mobile device. It can pre-configure the SMs. You can reduce the channel scan list via the app to speed up the connection and the evaluation. Simplifies the evaluation. You can kind of see what APs are out there. You can click those APs and configure the color codes right in the app. Alignment is the real kind of the key part that'll help reduce installation time and eliminate errors. It's graphical. It's updated every quarter of a second. You can optimize. It'll give you your best signal strength and kind of tag that. And you can monitor both V and H signals, so you can kind of see the signal imbalance if there is any, and eliminate that as a concern as you run. After you install and connect, it runs link test, and it can save those link tests to Maestro to give you a baseline of the performance of the radio at the time of installation. It'll automatically configure the SM and log that latitude and longitude for every one. So now you have the location, and it's using your GPS and your mobile device to do that. So it's pretty useful in that regard. You'll have those coordinates stored automatically. And it can configure the SM, device name, IP, management VLAN, data VLAN. All of those things are capable of being configured using cnArcher. So how do you connect it? What we're doing today is recommending a portable Wi-Fi AP to make that connection from your mobile device to the radio itself. We've tested with a couple devices. It's really the same device provided by a couple different folks, Link Tests and Jiva Electronics. It's a small battery dongle, 15-watt device that provides both the battery and the Wi-Fi access point. So it'll spit out an SSID that your mobile device can connect to, as well as provide that connection and the power to the device. And the installer will plug that in to the SM and then take it with them. And you can get it in a couple different places. If you're in the United States, linktex.net is the place to get it. If you're not in the United States, Giva Elettronica in Italy, they sell them worldwide. So feel free to check that device out. We're at this point just recommending this device. You can use a number of different things as long as you have the connectivity and the power to the radio. You can actually use R series pilot device if you have that available to you at the time of install. So that's enough on Archer. Let me cover the 3 gigahertz Medusa product, which is due out in Q3. We're on track with this product, and it's a little bit different than the 5 gig. And I know a lot of attendees on this webinar are not necessarily from the United States, but this model, what they're talking about doing with the 3 gigahertz spectrum in the United States, will likely be replicated outside the US. So I'm going to spend just about 30 seconds talking about what they're doing here. It's called what's being called a shared spectrum system, or a shared access spectrum system. And what we're doing is they're opening up additional spectrum under what is known as the CBRS, the Citizens Band Radio Service. And they're going to have a tiered flexible use of this spectrum, meaning that the lowest tier is the GAA, General Authorized Access. You can also purchase or lease a priority access license to have precedence to use this spectrum over those GAA users. Those will be held. There will be auctions held in the future where customers, if they choose to spend money, they can lease those priorities. And then incumbents, there's still some government incumbents that will get precedence all the time over everybody else. But what the FCC has done is established a new band, TDD band 48, and that's really 355 to 37. And so in the US, this spectrum will be shared by a database, and the radio equipment will actually have to connect to the database to ask for a grant to use a specific chunk of spectrum. And then they'll be granted, and then they'll be able to use that. All the while, it has to maintain a heartbeat or a connection to this database to make sure that it's able to continue using that spectrum. So this system is new to the US. It'll be implemented likely in the middle of this year, and we will, I think, see this spread across the world as a way to do this. So that said, we're working, Cambium is working with a lot of the SAS providers to make sure that we're going to be compliant and capable of doing this. We will use Maestro as the bridge of communication from the radio to the SAS. We are able to demonstrate this today, and we believe we'll be all set and ready to go from day one. So as soon as this comes out, the 450 platform of 3 gigahertz products will be able to support the SAS. And we're going to be able to support this with the Medusa product. So you can see it looks a little different. It's bigger. And one of the things we've done here is actually reduce the transceiver count from 14 by 14 down to 8 by 8. The main reason for doing that is size, weight, and cost. As you go down in frequency, the antenna elements get larger. The transceivers themselves, the circuit layout gets larger and more expensive. And if we were to do a 14 by 14, the thing would be huge and very difficult to install. It would be a 2-man lift, more than 75 pounds. So we decided to reduce it a little bit to make it a little more easy to install. You do sacrifice a little bit of spectral multiplexing gain, meaning now you're talking about 2 to 3 times the capacity versus the 4 to 5 times that we're seeing in the 5 gig Medusa. However, we've improved the power output a little bit in this area. So we're able to take advantage of a little bit higher power. So we'll get a little better range. We'll still get those benefits of the uplink sensitivity and all the beamforming capabilities that we had in the 5 gig as well. So we'll be able to do in a 40 meg channel quite a bit of throughput still in this guy. So no worries about that. And really this is about providing those capacity increases for folks that are in that 3 gig spectrum that want to continue to use it. So we're excited to get this product out the door as well. There is a white paper available to talk about. A lot of folks in 3 gig have been toying with or using LTE based products. And there's some ways that the 450 platform are really advantageous in the 450 versus LTE. LTE has us beat in terms of range and coverage and the support for mobility. So we don't support mobility. It's a fixed wireless deployment. It's a fixed wireless product, and the range in LTE, because of the special tricks that LTE can do with the air interface itself, it is a little bit better. And especially in licensed bands, you can do higher power and things with LTE. So the range and coverage, if that's the primary reason, then that you may be well suited to look at an LTE product. However, total cost of ownership, infrastructure costs, sector capacity, the ability to mitigate interference. There's a lot of reasons why the 450 platform is a better alternative if those things are of concern. So I encourage you to go to the website. All you have to do actually to find it is just type in the search box LTE. You'll find this paper. It's a short read, but it's probably worth checking out. So I encourage you to go check that out. That's about all I had. As usual, I like to point out the community forum that we have. It's a huge wealth of knowledge, from knowledge base down to customer ideas for how do we improve the products, to the forum where anybody can ask anything of anybody. And we're on there all the time. My name is Cambium Matt on there. I'm on there all the time answering questions and discussing things with customers. I encourage you to go check that out. And of course, we're all over social media. Feel free to ping us anywhere you find us. Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, the usual. That's about all I had for today. I will go through these questions and talk about some things. Question about grouping. Is there a way to see which SMs belong to which grouping? Actually, absolutely there is. We have on, I believe it was 15.1.3, actually added some statistics pages, and it'll show you exactly, it actually goes by VC, but it'll show you which VCs are grouped in which spatial frequency. And so you can kind of see exactly at any given point in time which SMs are grouped with which ones, and which spatial frequency those are in. So there is a lot of forum posts on how to interpret those statistics and how to take better advantage of optimizing those. So I encourage you to go to the forum, check that out. But there is some more enhanced statistics on how to do that. Another question was about LTE in general. We as a Cambium are investigating and well underway on development of a product that will utilize LTE protocol as well. Our first instantiation, I didn't talk about it a lot today. I will talk about it in the future. We are first going to release this product in the 2 gig band, 2.5, bands 38, 40, and 41 specifically. But we are on track to releasing that this year. So you'll see a lot more information about that as we get towards the end of Q2. Question on cnArcher. It says, cnArcher appears to be a cloud-based app. It's actually not. It's not. Doesn't have to talk to the cloud. It does not have to use the cellular network at all. So once you download that app, it can communicate to the radio. Once your radio is connected to the AP, if the AP has connection to your Maestro instance, then your app can communicate to the Maestro. So you don't need cellular coverage, and you don't need any connection to the internet aside from going through the AP. So that is a benefit. Let's see. Will the 450M in 3 gigahertz support band 42 with no CBRS? Yes, absolutely. For folks outside of the US, the frequencies that the 450M will support is the entire 3 gig band from 3.3 to 3.8. So yes, it'll support bands 42 and 43 as well. And then there's a pretty specific question about CRC errors on a Cisco switch. Actually, there's some discussion of that on the forum as well, and I do recall a specific issue with CRC errors on the Cisco switch. Feel free to go to the forum and check that out. but I will leave it at that because I don't know the details off the top of my head. All right. Looks like most of the questions, I answered all of the ones I see. And I will leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining. I appreciate the joining, and I be happy to talk about more things as we go. And if you ever feel the need to reach out, my email is pretty easy. It's Matt at Cambium Networks. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you again for joining. Bye-bye.